And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast presented by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com. As always, if you're down at the Banks, going to a Reds game, hanging out, just enjoying your time this summer downtown, make sure you stop by, visit our friends at the Holy Grail, get yourself something to eat, have a nice cold beverage. Any of those things will brighten up your day. And the food is great. The drinks are cold. It's all you could ever ask for. Support those that support us and make a stop at the Holy Grail. All right, let's get this show on the road. Special guest today, not only myself and David Simone, but Dave's new best friend, Cincinnati golf coach, Doug Martin is back with us. We had you on before the start of the spring season, and today was a huge day for you and for your program as the Bearcats, for the first time in school history, are selected to the NCAA tournament as a team. Had a great event in the Champions Club today. Was very honored that you invited Dave and I to come and join you. And first and foremost, congratulations, Coach. It had to be an awesome feeling seeing that come together today.
It really was. It was, as I addressed the people before the show started is, when I started coaching at Cincinnati, I didn't talk about this today, but I played in one of the premier programs of college golf at the University of Oklahoma. And I wanted to bring that program here to Cincinnati. And, I had a long ways to go to bring it here. We're getting closer and closer. We're still a long ways from Oklahoma. But the key that I saw today, and I've stressed since I've been here, is it takes an army to build a program. One person cannot build a program. You have to invest in your donors. You have to invest in your former players. You have to invest in every single person that touches your team, from your academic people to your equipment staff to your trainers to your nutrition people. Everybody has a role in helping me develop these players, not only on the golf course, but off the golf course. And without that support staff that I have, my donors, my former players, we don't have a program. But we have a program because we have all of those things in our program. And I think that was pretty evident today, seeing the people that were there.
Absolutely. So I want to start by saying we had you on before the season. You went right to Puerto Rico and won. So you got the Bearcat Journal podcast bump.
Yep.
Now this is why this has all happened.
No doubt.
Now we're having you on again. So I fully expect you guys to go to Vegas, finish in the top 5, and go to Greyhawk. So no pressure. I mean, we did our job the last time. You won in Puerto Rico, so now we got to do it again.
Well, I can assure you of this. This golf team will be ready to play when we hop on that plane and head west. We have had 4 extremely spirited practices since we kind of got back into practicing after finals. These guys want to compete. They want to do things that people never thought they could do here. And, what a great team to be coaching with guys that are hungry. And my old buddy Mick Cronin used to say, the hungry dog always gets the bone. And I hope these guys continue to be hungry.
Dave, I'm gonna make an executive decision real quick. Aaron, are you there?
You're sending me to Las Vegas?
No, not quite that executive. So we're not going to start this officially until next week. But I think there's no bigger honor than we can bestow than the first ever Team Ticker Bearcat of the Day or Bearcat of the week to Doug Martin.
and the team.
We'd love it. We'd love it.
Aaron, give him a look. This is we're starting this next week.
You mean this guy?
Yeah.
That guy right there. You're going to be able to buy those at teamticker.com. It is the Bearcat. It is great for man caves and completing a room. It updates schedules. It has news and information. And you are, Doug, and your team, the very first Bearcat of the week.
Well, it's fantastic. We're honored to be that play that role.
So before we get into, in the couple weeks, I want to kind of just go take a little retrospective. Obviously, we just talked about it. You guys came out of the gates on fire, played great, 44 under par in Puerto Rico, and then I followed you guys along, and obviously your comments, and I appreciate your comments because you don't give the coach speak. You tell it exactly how it is. You played a very tough schedule, which I'm sure you wanted to do, and will have prepared you guys for NCAAs. But how do you think after Dorado things went? Because you had kind of like some up and down performances, and the fields were extraordinary. But I know that in your eye, probably you probably didn't quite reach the bar you guys had set.
Well, I think after we went to Puerto Rico, we flew right home from Puerto Rico. We spent a day in Cincinnati, and then we went straight to Colleton River in Hilton Head. And that was the best field they've ever had at Colleton River. They had 12 teams that were in the top 90 in the country, primarily a Big Ten flavor field. And after winning at Puerto Rico, we go there and finish last. And, my assistant coach, so we were actually, as soon as that tournament ended, we were staying in Hilton Head to practice for 2 or 3 more days before we went to Sea Island. And so, we obviously, when we go back to the hotel after the first and second round, we're in like 10th or 11th. And, I said, "What did you see today?" And he was like, "We looked like the same team that played in Puerto Rico. We just didn't putt well." And I said, "That's really what I saw." I said, "We put ourselves in position. We didn't play sloppy golf. And we go out in the last round, kind of do the same thing. We finish last, and we get all of our stats from the players that evening. And Austin and I meet downstairs in the morning to talk about the tournament, to give it a recap and talk to the team. Well, we averaged through 6 tournaments 29.3 putts per player. At Colleton River, we averaged 31.4. So you do the math. We shot 14 under par at Colleton River. You do the math, basically 2 shots a guy.
Over 3 days.
That's 8, 6, that's 24 shots. We shoot 38 under at Colleton River if we putt average. We just had an absolutely horrible week on the greens. And so, I told the guys when we got through that next morning, I said, "Look," I said, "just because we finished last this week, I haven't changed my opinion of this team. I think we have a great golf team." And, if you follow golf, I know you do, David, and guys on the PGA Tour miss cuts. They don't play great every week. And that's really was my analysis to them, is that let's put this in the rearview mirror and move on. So then we go to Sea Island where, the field is even better than Colleton River. And we go there and finish second. And it's like, all right, we're back on stride. We're back on stride, back feeling good about ourselves and doing good things. Then we come home and we have like a 2-week break. The weather's just okay. The greens aren't great to putt on. That's kind of a really tough stretch for us because we can practice hitting shots and do, but the putting in the short game really take a little bit of a back seat because we're not able to really work on it to the level that I think we should work on it. So we then go to Mississippi State and play in the best field, best tournament the program has ever played in. And, we go out, we have a good solid week. I think we finished 7th or 8th in the tournament in another great field. And again, kind of the same type deal. We didn't have another great putting week. Sam Jean didn't have a really good week. That kind of hurt us. So when you play in a field like that, if your number 1 and number 2 guys don't play well in Sam and Ty, you're really in trouble because those guys those guys lead the way, and they didn't have good weeks. Then we go to Vanderbilt, and again, in another great field at Vanderbilt, we got paired with at Mississippi State, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, 3 teams in the top 20. As a coach, it's great for me to be able to watch those teams and compare my team to those teams. Tennessee is on another level because they have Caleb Surratt, who's one of the top amateurs in the world. But Mississippi State and Ole Miss and Cincinnati are the same golf teams, damn nearly the same teams. And so as a coach, when you watch that, it's like, okay, we're now one of the top 25, top 30 teams in the country because they play golf the same way we play golf. Then we go to Vanderbilt, again, have another just decent week. I think there were 12 of the teams were in the top 90 in the country. And again, it was nothing special. Sam didn't have a great week. Tide had another poor week. Again, you go and you try to play against the number 1 ranked team in the country, Tennessee, a top 12 team, and your best 2 guys don't have their best stuff. You're going to finish in the middle of the field. That's just how it works. Then we go to conference, and conference was a little bit of a difficult situation for us. Sam Jean, again, our best player, didn't practice with us for 4 days before we left for the conference championship. Not a lot of people know that. It's not an excuse. Kid's a 4.0 engineer, had to finish up his schoolwork, and his schoolwork he had so much to do. He didn't practice for 4 straight days before we go to the second biggest tournament of our season. And he goes and has a very average week and below average week, and Ty Gingrich has his worst. But what I was most pleased with at conference is the depth of our roster allowed us to finish second place, with 2 freshmen and a sophomore stepping up and all 3 of them finishing in the top 12 in the tournament. So that was a huge deal for us. We're a better golf team than Houston. I know that. If our top 2 guys play well, we beat Houston by 10 or 12 shots. That's just my opinion. And that's no disrespect to Houston because Jonathan Dismuke has a great program there and, is going to be a great competitor for us in the Big 12. But, going into this regional event, what excites me the most is our guys have one focus, and that's golf. No schoolwork, no distractions, strictly focusing in on our preparation to go play. And that's a huge advantage because a lot of other teams are still in school right up to regionals.
How much did playing in these loaded fields and seeing where 1 week 44 under wins, another week 14 under is last, the next week 6 over is second, kind of like show the guys how razor thin the margin for error is when you have the goals that you guys have and you're competing against, a Vanderbilt with Gordon Sargent, who I'm pretty sure he finished second alone.
Yes.
In the Mason Rudolph event. I mean, the guy is incredible. So
yeah.
I mean, to me, it's way better than going and playing a bunch of teams that you just beat the crap out of when your goal is to win a national championship.
That's our program for the last 5 to 7 years. We could have scheduled to where we beat the hell out of everybody every week, but that's not the program that I want to have. I want my kids. My whole deal in my program is to try to prepare my kids to give them an opportunity to play professional golf when they're done. And if they're not seeing the best players in the country, they aren't seeing the best golf courses in the country, then I'm doing them an injustice. And so, our schedule was great this year. Our schedule next year will blow this one out of the water. And I think we ended up finishing having the 42nd or the 45th ranked schedule in the country this year. And next year's schedule is only going to be better than this one. And it's how we're going to continue to grow, evolve, and build as a program is we're going to play the best. And if we want to be one of the best, we have to compete and beat the best.
Sure. So going into the final round at conference, I don't remember what place you guys were in.
Yeah, we're in 5th or 6th place.
you had a really good final round. You know, I'm one of the only teams I think that was under par on that day.
Yep.
And so what do you take, knowing that there's still a little bit of a time gap and you might not have, and we'll get into it, you might not have the exact roster that you had there going to Vegas. What do you guys take from that, knowing that, you know, we kind of put ourselves in a bad spot, but we fought back on the last day, and that's like your best cumulative round since Dorado. So, you know, momentum and things of that nature.
It really came down to, this has been a team that's been a pleasure to coach. This has been a team I haven't had to really raise my voice very often. But after we finished the second round, they got their asses chewed out. And really just, it stemmed around thinking they could show up and win this golf tournament without going out and competing. And I'm not saying they didn't compete, but we didn't compete as hard as I think we're capable of competing. And we made some mistakes in the first two rounds that if you want to be a great team, you cannot make those mistakes. And so we basically had about a 15-minute lecture from me about toughness and doing things the right way, being prepared. And after we finished, there's a putting drill that we do as a team that's extremely difficult to complete. And it is high level pressure. And so I said, let's go straight to the putting green. And they knew what was happening. They knew we were going to do this drill. And the drill is all six guys circle around the hole and they start with a 3-foot putt. And all six guys have to make the 3-footer before we go to 4 feet. Then we go to 4 feet and all six guys have to make the 4-footer. Then we go to 5 feet and all six guys have to make the 5-footer. And then we finish it up with all six guys having to make it from 6 feet. And when you put that on a hole that has some break and some contour, it's a pretty damn difficult drill. And so we probably did that. It took us probably an hour and a half to complete that drill. And what it does is, after you have some guys that start missing putts, you start having your camaraderie of your team. Come on, that's okay. That's all right. Let's go. And then, you know, I felt that energy come back to my team while we're doing that drill. And it is a hard drill. And we've been doing that drill every single day since we've gotten home. We spent 2 hours and 45 minutes in the cold last night doing that drill. And I said, we are not leaving here till that drill is complete.
So you're like Herb Brooks. You just, again.
It was again. But
what's the fastest they've gotten it done?
We did it in about 20 minutes tonight.
There you go.
Yeah, we did it in 20 minutes.
Don't waste all the good shots now, though.
And it's part of what it is it, and you know, when we complete the drill, the energy that's done, it's fist pumps, it's high energy when we complete it. And it's like every single guy is pulling for each other. And, you know, I'm a big culture guy. I'm a big team guy. You know, golf being an individual sport, but at day's end, we all add our scores up and we're a team. You got to have that love for one another and that competitive burn. And we're getting it back.
Coach, you guys, you weren't a number one seed in that selection show today.
Yep.
But there was as much talk about Cincinnati golf as maybe anybody that wasn't a number one seed. Were you surprised how much love you guys got from that crew today announcing the field?
So Jim Gallagher, I played golf with on the PGA Tour.
Hold on.
There we go.
I don't mean to interject, but just
Jim and I.
He evolved.
Jim and I have been friends. So he's doing television for the Golf Channel. So he comes in and he does, I think, the new Queen City tournament that's at Kenwood Country Club. He does the telecast for that. So he came in last summer. He played Coldstream. We got to get together a little bit and catch up. And then Brentley Romine is a writer for Golf Channel, Golf Week, and he writes for College Golf. I know both of those guys, and both of those guys, I had a phone interview with both of those guys last night, and you know, they see us as a program that's on the rise. And one of the things about college golf, like college football, it's hard to get to the elite. It's hard to get into that party of Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson. It's really hard to get there. We got there a couple years in football, but it's so hard to get there and stay there. We have finally entered what I would consider the second tier of the party. And we have to keep building and keep growing. And we need to do this and sustain this year after year after year. I think we can do that. I know Jim saw our guys over the summer, guys that we were working with, very impressed with our young talent. And it's like you sit here and look at it, and it's like, Jim and I have a lot of mutual respect for each other. He knows how I prepared for tournaments. He knows how I coach my team. I think that's where a lot of that came from. But, I think, I was certainly excited to get the love that we got on the Golf Channel today from both Brentley and Jim. And, there's some background from a relationship standpoint, but, why Cincinnati? They see Cincinnati as someone that's starting to grow as a golf program.
It's got to be great for your guys too to experience that and see like there's a little pressure on us. There's a little heat on us. We're seen as a team that's on the come up.
Well, the best part about it is that these guys hear this from me all year. But now you've got someone on the outside talking about your team that they know a little bit of Jim Gallagher, and they're like, hey, he's talking about things that coach talks to us about. You have Mike Small on the telecast. You have some of the other head coaches talking about the things that their programs are doing that are number one seeds. And they're like, oh shit, that's what coach is having us do. So you start to hear things from other coaches, and it's like not that those guys don't believe in Austin and I, but it's like it's reiterated to them on a day like today. Wow, we're doing the same things, if not more, than what the best programs in the country are doing.
For sure. So we were talking before we started here, and you guys have a little bit of time before you go out to Vegas. And I'm not sure how many people truly follow college golf and understand the formats and everything. So you said that you're going to have open competition for some of the spots. So just kind of take us through who you feel has had the season representative to have those spots locked up, and then what your plans are to kind of figure out who's going to be the other competitors.
We have had 6 players play a huge role in where we are as a program this year. And those 6 players basically have traveled every single week. We've been together on the road every single week. We have 3 freshmen that are redshirting. And so we basically knew going in, we had 6 guys. We were going to find our lineup from those 6 guys. And so obviously Ryan Ford starts off and plays the entire fall as an individual and really had, what I would consider a poor performance based on what he's done this spring. So Wyatt Plattner, Rylan Wotherspoon, William McDonald, Sam Jean, and Ty Gingrich were our top 5 in the fall. We come back in the spring. We meet with the guys in the fall before we start the spring. And Ryan Ford came into my assistant and I and said, look, I'm not playing as an individual in the spring. I'm going to crack this lineup. And sure enough, he comes back in the spring. And when we were on our practice trips in Florida, I talked to my assistant, Austin, and I said, he's our best player right now. He looks as good as anybody on our team. And he just came back, implemented a lot of the things that we talked to him about in the fall, and it just cleaned up his game. So as we go into regionals, I've exempted Sam Jean and Ryan Ford for 2 of our 5 spots. William McDonald, Ty Gingrich, Rylan Wotherspoon, and Wyatt Plattner are going to play 72 holes, and the low 3 guys will represent the rest of the team in Vegas. Now, the one unique thing about college golf especially in the postseason, is you can substitute. So we're going to take 6 guys, and if I feel I want to make a sub at any point in the tournament, I can make a sub. And, you know, it's out there. It's an opportunity. If someone were to get injured, someone were to get sick, it allows us to have a sub. And so we're going to have 6 guys with us. I trust all 6 guys to represent our program and go out there and play well. But I felt having this time between school ending and going to Vegas, we are different than most of the schools in the sense that we are already out of school. Most of the teams left playing are in school and taking finals the week before they go to regionals. And I felt it was not a good idea to have this team not competitive before we left. I wanted them to get dirty and go and compete against each other and battle for this, and then give them 2 or 3 days, pull back the reins, and then go out there and get ready. That's kind of been my philosophy.
So let's spin it there. The bracket bracket comes out. You see you're going to Vegas. You see your region. What were your initial reactions? Is that a place you wanted to go? Do you think your region, like I'm looking at it to the person that follows it somewhat, but not totally, like your region seems pretty loaded.
Well, they're all loaded.
Yeah.
All loaded. But I will tell you, Oklahoma and Auburn, that will be a bloodbath. You've got 3 SEC teams at Auburn. Auburn being the 3 seed, and they spent most of the year ranked number 2 and were number 1 in the country for a lot of the fall. So you've got a 3 seed at Auburn on their home course, Tennessee and Vanderbilt, and then I think Ohio State's there. I can't remember, but it's like that is freaking loaded. And then you have Oklahoma as a 2 seed. At Oklahoma, they're a 1 seed. Texas Tech is the 1 there, so they've got 2 number 1 seeds. I think Texas A&M is there as well, and Texas A&M is on a heater right now.
Yeah.
So, but when you look at our region, in our top 6 seeds, Northwestern, East Tennessee, and Virginia, we have already played and beaten this year.
Mm-hmm.
There is no other 7 seed in the championship that's beaten 3 teams in front of them. I can almost guarantee that. And so we're in a position to where we have nothing to lose, everything to gain. East Tennessee, I think, is our 6 seed. Northwestern is our 5 seed. East Tennessee's playing great golf right now. UNCG behind us, playing great golf. It's the bottom line is Ty and Sam have to play well. And I feel comfortable in saying if we go out and do the things we're supposed to do and play well, we get in.
Yeah.
If we don't play well, we're not going to get in.
Right.
It's not at this point of the year, not playing at your top level golf. I don't care who you are. Arizona State might be able to get away from it. Texas Tech, Vanderbilt, they'll probably be able to get away at this point of getting through. Not us. We don't have to play above our heads. We just have to play great golf, just good, solid golf, what we're capable of doing, and we'll be fine.
What do you know about Bears Best? What do you like? Was that a spot you were indifferent on, hoping to go to? I heard you didn't want to go to a specific region. I won't say which one. But you know, what are your thoughts just on the course and things of that nature?
Number one, we don't have a lot of experience playing desert golf. That is my concern. But my plans are to go out there next Thursday. We cannot play the tournament course until Sunday before the start of the tournament on Monday. So everybody's only allowed 1 practice round. But we're going to go out there and we're going to probably play 3 practice rounds somewhere with similar elevation, similar type surroundings to where we can get comfortable with the elevation, comfortable with the thin air in the afternoon when it heats up. So we'll get out there in plenty enough time that we'll be prepared with the changing of conditions, because you can't simulate desert golf anywhere near here, or we would go someplace and practice for a week. So the desert golf obviously is a concern, but when you look at our bracket, really Arizona State is your main desert team, and nobody else between us and Arizona State, with the exception of Oklahoma State. They play in a tournament in Las Vegas every single year. Those two teams, in my opinion, are the only ones familiar with true desert golf. And so we've got to go out, we've got to acclimate to the conditions and do some tracking of yardages and distances that we hit the ball, because that will be different there with elevation and thinner air. So those are things that we've got to do. But as far as the golf course goes, it's a Nicklaus golf course. It's 18 of his best, quote, desert holes that he's designed, from, out west to Cabo to different places. I've heard some things about the golf course. I'm anxious to see, what the flow of the golf course is going to be. So I think that will be very interesting. But he's got a really good video that he's put out that he describes every single hole, and I've been through that 3 times already. Looking at it, just really trying to find, are there any advantages? What can I come up with in listening to him talk about the holes? Because I wasn't Jack Nicklaus as a player, but I always knew how to set up a game plan for myself to break down a golf course. And that's going to be my task here, between now and the one practice round that we have a chance to play. How can I put together a game plan for my 5 guys that puts them in a great spot?
Other than the elevation, describe desert golf for a layman that doesn't.
So desert golf is going to be primarily fairway, and then a little bit of rough, and then it goes into desert. Cactus,
rocks,
sand, rocks. And so really one of the keys, and I already know this, and it's one of the reasons that I liked going there, is we have a good driving team. We drive the ball fairly straight. And so that's obviously going to be a significant advantage there, is driving the ball straight. And so, typically, Chad, on most of your golf courses, you have fairway, then you have rough and trees. There's not a lot of trees that are going to be in play. It's more fairway, a small amount of rough, and then the ball just escapes into desert. And so, what makes desert golf courses extremely hard is when the wind starts to blow, because there's nothing there to stop it. And that really makes desert golf extremely hard. If there's no wind, I expect this to be, a birdie fest in my opinion. If there's wind, it is going to be a grind for 3 straight days. So we'll see what the weather's going to bring. But again, it's just me trying to learn as much as I can about that golf course before we get there. And then when we go out and play our one practice round, that we can set up a plan for each guy.
Sounds good. So when you're in this type of a situation, season, in this moment, what is something, do you tell them anything different? Is it the same thing that you've kind of preached all year?
It's the same message. It's the same message is, I want you to go out and compete. And the thing with golf is golf changes every day. Some days you have your best stuff. Some days you don't have your best stuff. But you have to have the ability to go out and compete and shoot a score when maybe you don't have your best stuff. And that's what makes great players great. Is there thousands of players right now in college golf, when they play good, their golf is good. The number gets smaller of the guys that when they don't play their best, they have to be able to shoot 72 or better. And that's something that can be learned. We are constantly teaching that to our guys, but it's just, you have to be meaner than a snake when you're out there competing. And it's like, golf, there's no defense. It's you against the golf course, but you got to be willing to go out and compete and fight your ass off for the other guys on the team.
Speaking of snakes,
they're going to see some, I'm sure. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's definitely and I have not
You got anybody on the team afraid of snakes?
Coach,
Like you're gonna have to
coaches.
coach.
Well, you'll be in a golf cart, so you can drive away from them.
Coaches. Yeah, I haven't really confronted the guys to ask them about snakes, but we'll worry about. Hopefully, we won't hit it where the snakes are.
That's right. They usually don't go right down the middle of the fairway, so
Correct.
hopefully
That's correct.
Hopefully that's. We did have a question in the chat of any teasers on events that you guys will be in next year.
Yep, I can give you our schedule. I can give you our schedule for next year. So we start off the first week of September at Erin Hills.
Nice.
Marquette hosts at Erin Hills. U.S. Open was there probably within the last 5 or 6 years. We then go to Tennessee National, which is an unbelievable course in Tennessee. University of Tennessee is hosting there. Then we host here at home. Then the Big 12 match play, which is in Houston. And then we finish up the fall semester at Quail Valley down in Florida. Michigan State hosts. We are not going back to Puerto Rico just because the dates don't work with what we're trying to do. So we'll go Colleton River, which is hosted by Michigan State. We'll go Sea Island again, which is hosted by Minnesota and Rutgers. We are adding Houston's event, which is in Houston where they used to have the PGA Tour event. Then we will go to Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt and Mississippi State are exchanging dates this year. So we'll play Vanderbilt. Then we'll finish up our spring semester at Mississippi State.
Well, hopefully Gordon Sargent's on the tour by then.
Hopefully Gordon Sargent is left, but we're from a schedule standpoint, we're going to be playing probably 75 to 80% of our opponents are going to be Power 5 opponents.
Is Big 12 at Karsten Creek every year or
no? Big 12. So next year, Big 12 will be at Whispering Pines in Houston.
Okay.
So we have a 3-course rotation for the Big 12 championship. It will be Whispering Pines next year, Southern Hills the following year.
Oh, jeez.
And Prairie Dunes.
Oh my God!
Dunes. This is
unbelievable. That is amazing for these guys.
Well, it's amazing, and the Big 12 golf, and we'll get to talk about this more, but Big 12 golf is the second best golf conference in the country, right behind the SEC. I think the SEC, 13 of their 14 teams got in the tournament this year, and I think that's
pretty good.
Yeah, it was 8 of 10.
90% of the Big 12 got in.
Yes. So we're going to the big leagues here to play golf, and we're going to the big leagues to play football, basketball, all the other sports. And I'm just excited. I'm excited. It excites me for this new challenge because it's going to be really hard for all of us. And we have to dig in, and we have to really get all of our kids in every sport to compete their asses off. And it's going to be a challenge for all of us, but we've got to get to that mindset.
Well, the Bearcat Journal.
Real quick, you said there was a Big 12 match play in the fall,
yes.
Which is different than the Big 12 championship.
Correct. That's correct.
Are the courses just as great for match play?
We play in Houston at I think it's Houston Oaks. It's a fantastic golf course. And so basically the match play deal, which is so we will be seeded accordingly to how we're ranked, I think, in the first poll that comes out the 1st of October. And we will play, I believe we play 5 matches in 3 days. So we'll get to play against 5 other Big 12 teams. And so, if you go there and lose 5 matches, you just go 0-5. It's not that big of a deal. So from your 500 record that you have to have as a team, you don't take a hit if you go there and have a bad week for the most part. But it's just, It's a great feel-good event. All of the Big 12 guys that our guys have become friends with have talked about how special this event is, and it's one of the favorites that they play in every year. So we're really looking forward to that.
Well, we're going to have a Bearcat Journal C-suite meeting on how we're going to start covering these events moving forward.
Yeah. we would love that.
Because I'm sure I'm sure just like the majors, there's a media round, at the day after the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. You'd get to see some great golf courses, David.
No kidding. No kidding. I mean, to get to play Prairie Dunes and Southern Hills back-to-back years,
Yeah.
I would be pretty upset if I was a junior and I was going to miss out on.
Well, and what's
on
crazy?
those
What's crazy is Whispering Pines is so good, it's unbelievable. Not a lot of people know about it in Houston, but it's right there with Prairie Dunes and Southern Hills.
So it's like Houston basketball and football.
It's like Houston basketball right now. That's correct. It's like Houston basketball.
It's great, but the people in Houston just don't know.
They don't care. They don't go. Oh, I love
Well,
that.
Coach, we appreciate it.
Real quick. I know I asked you this in the press conference, but how cool to have President Pinto and all the support from the athletic department that you had there today. It was a really cool event.
It was a really cool event. And, you know, I think we are extremely lucky to have President Pinto, John Cunningham, visionaries, especially President Pinto, with recognizing the importance of athletics and how athletics success is transitioning into our enrollment. You know, the student season tickets for football have already sold out. You know, we need to make Fifth Third crazy as hell. So when these Big 12 teams come in here, it's a hard place to play. And, you know, just the fact that they recognize the impact of sports and their vision for our university is just incredible. And we're blessed as coaches. We're blessed as administrators to have a president that supports us the way he does.
Absolutely. You know, it was a sweet gathering today. We really appreciate you extending the invite to us. Enjoyed getting to talk to Sam for a little bit about his U.S. Open qualifying opportunities, possibly up at Springfield. My dad's a member, so I told him if he needed to get out there for some extra rounds, I could help him out. But we will definitely be keeping track. Monday the 15th, right, is the first round?
Monday the 15th is the first round.
And it's 3 days, one round each day?
One round each day, and all 6 sites play at the same time.
Awesome. And top 5 teams advance from each site. So you guys, like we talked about, you have a good field, but I mean, if you're one of the teams in it at this point, you're probably pretty damn good anyway. So you gotta go out there and golf your damn ball.
Yeah, the 4 seed to the 8 seed, that's where your battle will be. That's where your battle will be. Where it was who can come out of there in that window of 4 to 8 and play the best golf. That's really what it's going to come down to. And I think even Virginia, you can throw Virginia in the 3 seed. I think our place is 3 through 8. I think Stanford and Arizona State are unbelievable teams, unbelievable programs. They have great talent. They're going to be really difficult to beat, but I think everybody else can be beat in our region.
Well, hopefully we give you another podcast bump.
I certainly hope you do. But I would like to close really just with thoughts for you, Chad. You know, become friends with you over the past 5 to 10 years. I know the last month has been unbelievably brutal. There are a lot of people that are out there for you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. And we love you, and you do great work. But we appreciate you a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Keep doing the work that you're doing.
You know how much love I got for you guys, and it's been really cool seeing this thing finally start to get to that level of your vision, and we love having you on, and we'll have you on in a couple weeks as a national champion. All right. Perfect.
Well, you're always going to get the truth from me. I don't give much coach speak. But I love
never have.
Guys.
That's why we get along.
I feel for you and want to give you a big hug and pray for you every day.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, Coach. And
appreciate you guys.
We'll talk soon. Good luck out there.
Yep. Talk soon. See you guys. Thank you. Right. Thank you. See you.
There we go. Head golf coach Doug Martin. That was a really cool event today, Dave, and very cool to see them rising to that level that we thought they could. That's why we had them on at the beginning of the season. We thought this was possible, and very cool to see them get their first ever NCAA tournament berth. And I appreciate Coach for the support, but I'm trying not to cry on stream.
Well, it's all right. It's all right. But yes, I mean, he laid it out there very well. I mean, Arizona State's the number 4 team in the country. They're young though. I mean, their coach talked about it today on the show. They've got, a lot of young, really, really good players. Stanford's in the top 15. They have a guy, Michael Thor Bjorson, that is just a dog. And then Virginia and Oklahoma State are both in the top 20. They have 10 teams in their region that are in the top 58 in the country. So like you said, I mean, it's going to be a battle for probably those last 3 spots. And, UC is currently 40th, but in golf, there's it's not like you said. I mean, if Sam and Ty play to their capabilities and with the way that Ryan has played this year, they will be right there to get one of those 5 spots. I mean,
think of it like this though, Dave. There are 6 regionals.
Right.
5 teams from each regional get in. That's 35. Like they're 40th, which is
it's 30, but
30, whatever. You know what
I mean? I'm not good at math, but I can at least do that.
Yeah, I whatever. He's got me flustered.
How's that?
Can hardly see it. It just blends in with all your other stuff.
Yeah, it kind of blends in with the other stuff.
Well, I'm sorry. I have a lot of stuff on the walls here.
All good.
Yeah, it's there. It's ticking.
We'll get it figured out.
But yeah, that's what I said. They're right there.
They're 40th and 30 teams make it in. Crazier. Florida Atlantic played in the Final Four this year in basketball.
Well, I mean, like you said, you have some of these regions that have 3 SEC teams. Like, what if somebody's not going to play their best and it's not they're a 7 seed. They're right there to get in. So, I'm excited just to track it and keep an eye on it. I probably won't get a whole lot of work done that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but it's cool as someone who loves golf, follows college golf, to like have a team that, obviously Tennessee's ridiculously good, but I don't really know anything about them golf wise. But Doug's just been a great guy. He's always been good to us, and it's we've always we like to have as many different people on as we can. So it's nice when he'll jump on and he has the team that has made it worthwhile to talk about. And first ever trip to the NCAAs, and like you said, they've got it's going to be a bear starting next year. But I mean, they're probably, I don't even know if I'd say probably. I think definitively of all the programs at UC, they are the most prepared to go to the Big 12.
I think that's fair. Were you surprised at how much chatter they got today on the show?
Initially, yes, but then I found out he's boys with Jim Gallagher.
That always helps.
Who's a Vol, so can't leave that out. But I said to you, and I can say this as someone who loves golf, I was like, they certainly weren't trying to change the conception that golf is boring with that show today. It was like, my God, just get to it. It was some of the most sleep-inducing commentary I've ever witnessed. But they came right out of the gate talking about UC, and then when their region got announced, they
there was like a 90-second, 2-minute segment on UC, who's the 7th seed.
Right.
So
Steven asked about golf gear. So they wear Under Armour as far as like quote unquote uniforms. Their hats, their shirt, their pullovers, stuff like that. I don't know if they have to wear Under Armour shoes or not. And then their actual equipment, that's whatever they want. I think they're a Callaway team, he said last time. But I'm sure there's Titleist and Callaway and TaylorMade somewhere in their bags and stuff. But their bags are probably Under Armour bags, if I had to guess. Anything that is like outwardly branding is probably Under Armour. But like they don't. I mean, Under Armour doesn't make equipment, so there's from that standpoint.
I've seen Doug in some pretty cool stuff that was not Under Armour. So
I'm sure. I don't know what region he did want to go to. I think he's cool with Vegas. I feel pretty good saying he did not want to go to California.
Why?
I don't know. I didn't get that answer, but
okay.
I don't think they
maybe
wanted
just a course he played and didn't like.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a course thing, if it's who the teams are probably going to be in that region. Not entirely sure.
Should be fun. I had a good time today. It was good to see the excitement building for the golf program and the university and the athletic department kind of stepping up to show his guys some support. I like that when they were announced, it was pretty ho-hum. Like it wasn't a wild.
Yeah, I mean they clearly expect. I don't know if how we only know committees as far as like football and basketball, so it's hard to tell if they were. I mean they were clearly easily in. I mean you're a 7 seed in the region that has 12. Some 13. Of them. I don't know how they come up with 81 teams in this thing. Yeah. So they're basically like a 8-9 game in an NCAA tournament bracket, but so they were pretty safely in. Tweeted out some pictures of some facility upgrades that they have going on, indoor hitting simulator, and then like a full on team type meeting room. So yeah, I mean that's the thing, we talk so much about football and basketball, but everybody's getting upgrades now. So there was a show, I think it was an ESPN Plus show, it's probably been like 4 years on Oklahoma State golf. And there's one on Ole Miss too. Some of these facilities that these teams have are just insane, and it just shows
a lot of them have their own courses, right?
A lot do, yeah. Have their courses on campus or right there on campus and or close to campus, and then they have Tennessee has like a 3-hole practice course and their own driving range right on the river, right on the Tennessee River, right off of campus. So they have a long ways to go going into the Big 12 from that standpoint. That's for sure.
But baby, you got to crawl before you can walk, right? And then you got to walk before you can run.
Absolutely.
Unless you're my child who just started running pretty much right away.
That's right.
All right, let's congratulations to the Bearcat of the Week, the Cincinnati men's golf team and head coach Doug Martin. I'm just really happy for Doug, man. He's such a good dude.
Oh yeah.
I've always, like I talked about last time we had him on, I spent a lot of time watching. He was a big basketball practice guy. He would always be down at basketball practice regularly, especially in the summer. And we would sit and talk and watch basketball practice and became close then. And just super happy, super excited for him. Football, Dave. I guess the big football news of the day. There will not be a 2-quarterback situation for the Bearcats in 2023. Ben Bryant is headed back to Chicago. He committed to Northwestern today. Good for Ben. I'm happy for him.
Absolutely.
Northwestern is always weird to me because I don't think of them as a good football program, but every 3 years or so, it feels like they have a team that like surprises people and wins 7, 8, 9 games or whatever.
Well, what? 2 years ago they went to the Big Ten championship, and last year they won 1 game.
Yeah, like they're just like, it doesn't feel like there's any in between with Northwestern.
Yeah, it seems like every other year right now, but they have not had very good quarterback play for the last 3 years. Obviously, they did not feel comfortable with where their quarterback position sat coming out of spring practice. So
right.
I think Ben probably feels like he's either going to be the starter or is going to go into fall camp as someone that will
Very legit. Yeah.
likely win the position, or they wouldn't have brought him in now.
And they run the football a lot. They're not a program that asks their
No, they've
quarterback
totally
to run.
changed.
They're air raid now.
Their tempo. Mike Bajakian's their offensive coordinator now.
Oh wow.
They
Wow,
they went from that to like the biggest 180 last year to tempo and like they're gonna, I mean, if they're gonna do it again, I mean, they had a really good running back who got drafted that his usage numbers were insane. Like he'd carry the ball a ton and they'd throw it to him a ton. So I'm not the world's biggest expert on Northwestern football, so who knows what changes will happen next year. But I doubt Ben's going to a place that's just going to turn around and hand the ball off 40 times.
Yeah, my point was though, even if they do run the ball, like they're gonna rely. They haven't ever been a team that looks for the quarterback to really get out in space and make plays.
No, not from like a running standpoint. No.
Yeah. So whether they run it a lot, like when he drops back to pass, it's going to be more of a pocket passer type deal. I didn't realize Bajakin was there. That's a blast from the past.
Mm-hmm.
So that does bring up a good question here from Matt Lanham. I'll get your opinion on this. Who's going to be QB2 for the Bearcats? If it's, I think we're all of the belief now that Emory Jones is going to be the starter. You've got an interesting battle for QB2, Evan Prater, Brady Lichtenberg. I would guess Brady Drogosh, red shirts.
The backup quarterback will be Brady.
You think Lichtenberg wins the number 2 spot?
I just think it'll be Brady.
Drogosh?
I mean, Brady.
I mean, I guess there is a point that if you see Brady Drogosh as your quarterback of the future, why not have him in that number 2 spot this year?
I think, I mean, that's a bit, but I think ideally you don't have to play him. But
right.
whether
he's the number 2 and you don't have to play him.
Whether by injury or necessity, whether your hand is forced or he forces your hand, then maybe. But I do not think that ideally, with a revamped roster, a new coaching staff, and a new conference, that they would want him to see the field.
Right. I think they would rather have it. And the thing that's a little bit interesting about that, at least, Dave, is that you could have a situation where you can play him 4 games. So you can get him mop-up duty if necessary without burning his red shirt.
Yeah, I'm not sure the value in that this year because I don't picture them being in a ton of situations where they're on the leading end of a blowout where you want to get him mop-up duty. I would rather just give the snaps to Brady Lichtenberg in that case.
Okay.
But
the Evan Prater thing is going to be fascinating.
I could be totally wrong. I mean, who the hell knows? But I'm just hopeful that they go through a season without having to use a bunch of quarterbacks because they've had that luxury. I mean, it ended last year. They had to use 2. Dez was pretty healthy for his last couple seasons, so they went a decade with having to use multiple quarterbacks every year. So right. I'm always
sometimes as many as 5. I'm
always just hopeful that isn't the case because, in college, your backups and your backups are never going to be good enough to get it done. So,
yeah, are you comfortable at a point where you're now going into the season with Emory Jones as your starter based on the limited, but still, what you saw from spring football?
I think you have to be, right?
No, you don't have to be.
Well, I don't see them adding a quarterback. So
that doesn't mean you have to be comfortable with it.
No,
I'm asking right now, are you comfortable knowing that Emory Jones is quarterback 1 for the Bearcats going into this summer?
Comfortable? No, because in the very limited action I saw and heard about, I would say outside of the spring game, it wasn't that impressive, but I'm comfortable in the understanding of what he'll probably be asked to do.
Yeah.
And this is a weird situation because they're going to continually add to the roster up until spring practice. So, like, what is available right now or what is on the roster right now as far as the skill position standpoint is probably still going to change. But, it's this team in 2023 is going to be about defense and running the ball, so I'm not as concerned about who the quarterback is.
Right. That's fair. And, there is an element to Emory Jones running the ball that we did not get to really see much of in the spring.
Right.
And we probably won't see a ton of in the summer. So you don't know what that element in the offense is going to look like until the bullets really start flying in September.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So that part is going to be obviously very interesting. Any other stuff football wise? You want to touch on the transfer portal musical chairs that we've been seeing? We hit on it quite a bit on the nightcaps the past couple nights.
I'm probably the wrong person or a bad person. Like, it just doesn't really register with me because that's just what is going on right now. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, you commit somewhere and then you change. Like, it doesn't bother me anymore. Like, I don't get hung up or bent out of shape about it. Like, do I wish guys would just pick a school and stick with it? Sure. But, like, things change. Like, we're now seeing several players, and mainly at Colorado, but I'm sure that's not the only place. I mean, I think we saw a wide receiver at Texas A&M do something very similar. Like, they were just brought in January, and then they're already leaving. So that's fine. Whatever. I mean, it's such a cliche thing to say, but I'm to the point now where I'm just like, whether it's a coach, a player, a fan, like, just do whatever makes you happy, man. Don't worry. I don't care. I don't care. Like, if you want to be here, awesome. I'll cheer my ass off for you. If you commit here and then you find somewhere else that you'd rather go, sure. All the best to you.
Knock yourself out. Yeah.
Like,
knock yourself out.
Like, that's why I said, like, whatever. It took me, I had to read a tweet like 5 times to be like, I don't even know who this guy is.
the guy that went to Colorado?
Yeah. I was like, so why would I get upset about it if I was like, shit, it didn't even like click. Like, oh my God, that guy just committed last week. Like,
I'm going to be honest, and I talked about this last night a little bit. Like, the kid that committed from Louisville yesterday, Braden Smith, I think is his name.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it happened until
his tweet was so nondescript that at first I thought it was like a thanks for the offer.
Right. And I've been so out of it this week, especially, like,
yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't catch it. I was busy handling some family stuff.
It's like when people always ask us about, like, what do you think about the recruiting class? And my line every year is, tell me who shows up to Higher Ground and I'll tell you what I think about it. And that's the same thing with this. Like, tell me who actually, transfers, man. Just tell me who's here when it starts to matter, and I'll tell you what I think.
And that, like, for me, people ask me a lot about, like, for a basketball analogy, people ask me a lot about Davion Thomas. And my response is, everything I've heard about him is good, but I haven't seen him play. So I can't give you an accurate assessment of my thoughts on Day Thomas until I'm watching Open Gym this summer, or until I, like, really get my eyes
right
on, like, what he does well, what he doesn't do well, where I see holes in his game. where I
Yeah,
see
like
strengths in his game.
how he meshes with his new teammates. Like
Right.
watching him play in JUCO or something is not going to be a very good representation of like what he is going into the Big 12.
But at least I would have seen him play.
Sure.
But I haven't seen the kid dribble a basketball in person. So I can't give you, like, I guess what I'm getting at here is we have built this on talking about what we see. This is why we go to every spring practice. It's why we go to every practice at Higher Ground. It's why every time that there's ever been, other than when I was dealing with stuff with Kelly, if I was allowed to be at practice, I was always there. Why? Because I want to be able to tell you accurately what I saw. And there's a reason that I'm standing there right on the sidelines with my notebook watching all of those things, because I want to give you guys an accurate assessment. And that's what makes the transfer portal really, really difficult. Like, especially in the spring window, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if they're going to show up. I don't know if they're going to be here. If they do show up, like, I have a little bit more faith in like the winter window at this point than the spring window. I don't know. Like, I know that's not an acceptable answer for a lot of people, but that's an honest answer.
So much of the winter window is surrounded on coaching changes.
Yeah.
This window is very much like, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but it's like very much like I didn't feel like I was either given a fair shot or I didn't like my place on the depth chart. Like, you don't see a ton of dudes that, started 12 games, had, 60 catches for 800 yards and 7 touchdowns. Just decide like,
the portal.
I just don't feel like playing here anymore.
The only place you do see that are coaching change spots where they go through the spring. At least this is from my observation from what I've seen on guys that have entered. That okay, well, I went through the spring with this new coaching staff, and
but it's still a new staff. Like it's
right, yeah,
yeah. It's not an immediate it's not an immediate coaching change, but it's still a new group.
It's just that you gave it a little time.
Yeah.
Saw what the offense looked like, and then went, I think I'm gonna find something that suits me a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, the portal is closed for football until December, which is wild to me.
It is crazy that they have 2 windows within 2 months, 3 months of each other, and then it's closed for 9 months.
Yeah. That part is
I guess not really 9 months. It's a little bit longer than that, but
yes. But if you didn't transfer by Sunday, see you in December, boys and girls.
Well, no, you can still transfer, right? You just have to sit out.
Yeah, or be a grad transfer.
Yeah,
a grad transfer. If you graduate in July,
right,
or whatever, you can go in.
Well, right now, basically. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can take summer classes.
Yeah, that's true. If you needed to take the classes to graduate, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's going to be a really small number. So, there's not a secret grad transfer window in July that's going to bear much fruit for anybody.
Probably not.
I mean, we cover it as much as we can, but at this point, unless it's something that jumps off the page, even the Auburn guy, he's a 4-star, he transfers from Auburn to Cincinnati. He had 3 catches last year.
Yeah.
What do you want us to say about, yeah, okay, great. He was a 4-star, but you know what, Dave? If you go back through the history of UC football, most of the 4-stars here never made a name for themselves in college football.
Right.
Most of the 4-stars that have committed to Cincinnati never made a name for themselves in college football.
It's very accurate.
So it's hard for me to be oh, well, he's a 4-star. That means he's going to be really good. That's and for the crowd that's well, it matters, da-da-da-da-da. Sure, it matters. But for the 4-stars Cincinnati has traditionally gotten.
Go look at the recruiting page on
Yeah.
on our recruiting, and it has
And
the
scroll through the 4-star.
all time top recruits.
Scroll through the 4 stars. You'll be hard pressed to find a guy that you're like, oh damn, he had a great Bearcat career.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's hard to get excited about it. So I don't have much else in football. Do you?
Our boy Brett Yormark is at it again.
He's this dude.
And this is
And
what
did
we
you see
said.
Dennis Dodd? Dennis Dodd like trying to spin.
What did he know? I did not.
So after it came out today that like they're talking about changing the way that the broadcast look and all that stuff.
Okay.
He was like, well, that's what everybody's gonna do.
No, it's not.
The Big 12 just happened to like they're coming out with it first.
Oh, you think Jamie Erdahl, SEC at 3:30? Hey, Coach Saban, as he's walking off the field, like what? So what happened there? Your new quarterback is not Bryce Young. He stinks. What's going on? You think he's just gonna be like, oh, Jamie, you know, we're just working through some things. Well, we'll get it figured out in the locker room.
I think Jamie, I think Tyler Boucher is going to be excellent.
Yeah.
You ever see an 80-year-old man stiff arm someone?
Like
Put the Heisman pose on him.
And that's the thing we talked about previously. Is like some of these things, awful ideas. I think the Mexico thing is a terrible idea. I don't understand why. As a fan, you couldn't pay me to go to Mexico City to watch the coaches and the ADs are gonna agree to take away a home conference game to go play UC versus Texas Tech in Mexico City in football. Like that is an awful idea, in my opinion. The locker room access and the halftime video and the halftime coaches, I think that's a great idea. I think you should be trying to get more access to your teams, more access to your players, get more people around the country to know your teams, to know your coaches. So there will be some ideas that are probably great. There will be some ideas that I think are absolutely absurd. But the fact of the matter is that so far, at least, I have been bullish on way more of the ideas than I have thought were, you know, a bit too much, as you know, some famous comedian would say. It's, you know, the Rucker Park thing, great idea. The Combine thing, great idea. I don't understand the Mexico thing.
Yes.
This isn't the NFL. This isn't like the Cardinals and 49ers going to Mexico City. Like it makes no sense to me.
Plus, you know, we all know how much of a hotbed Mexico City is for basketball.
Well, and you know, students coming to West Virginia, and you know, you're really you know recruiting big time down in Guadalajara and the other hotbeds of enrollment for the University of Cincinnati.
You know, but I'm sure the players are like, "Hey, we're gonna get 3 days in Mexico City." So
it ain't Cancun. This isn't.
Right, you're not going to
3 days in Cancun.
I'm sure they would love.
Yeah.
You know, why don't let's build.
If somebody built a stadium in Cabo, I'd be all for it.
Mexico City, I think I'm good. I think I'm good with that trip.
There's other places I feel like
Isn't Mexico City like on top of a mountain?
I don't know. I just know
Yes.
Yeah, the elevation is like crazy in Mexico City, right?
Accurate.
It's just I don't know. I don't know what the draw is to this idea, but
whoa. 7,349 feet is the elevation of Mexico City. That's a mile and a half high.
Yeah.
That's like Mexico City looks down on Denver by a half a mile.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I'm not sure.
I knew it was up there. I didn't realize it was legitimately like way up there. Only bested by Bogota at 8,612 feet above sea level.
Bogota, was that in Colombia?
Mile and a half high, Brian. Calm down.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's some harebrained ideas, but
he's throwing everything against the wall. But I do think, modernizing the broadcast. I will say, though, I don't love the in-game coaching interviews. You never learn anything.
Oh, I don't either. I'm not sure that that's the goal. I think the goal is if you're trying to brand yourself and you're trying to present yourself to a larger swath of the country, you want people to know who your coach. Like I'll just throw a name out. Like, and I don't even know if how many UC fans could tell you who Texas Tech's coach is?
Nobody. You know why? It's hard.
It's hard.
It's
But that's
hard to know who
what that's
Texas
what I
Tech's
mean.
coach
Like,
is.
and they had a good year last year, and they're probably going to be one of the top teams in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah.
But like, if I told you their coach was Joey McGuire, would you have any idea who the hell Joey McGuire is?
I know who Jerry Maguire is.
Right.
Show me the money.
Rod Tidwell, baby. But I think that's the point of it, is to present your coaches, your players, give fans a little bit more. Like, I'm not expecting any hard-hitting, X's and O's.
There is a significant change for us if all this stuff does happen.
What's that?
Open locker rooms. NFL style.
Yeah.
Because that's never been a thing in college.
Oh, hell no. You can never
you get who we tell you can talk to.
At least UC asks who you want to talk to, and then they tell you.
Yeah,
no.
like, look, our situation here, and we've talked about this a million times, is probably better than anywhere else in the country. I wouldn't trade the access that I get for anywhere by anyone. Like,
especially a program that has ascended to.
And
usually it's the access is great when no one gives a shit.
Right.
And as the expectations and the results increase, we close in on the access because we cannot possibly have any infiltration into how we are doing what we are doing.
Right. But open locker rooms would be very interesting.
Yeah.
To where you just get, you get to just walk in and talk to who you want to talk to that day.
Yeah, I'm not sure I see that one happening in a certain conference.
It's not happening in the SEC.
Never. They don't need it. I mean, it's kind of that old deal. Like, this is what we're going to give you. This is what we're going to give you.
The Big 12 isn't going to need it, but I think Brett Yormark is looking at, like, how do we, like, let's take a look at the NFL. And what are some things in the NFL that are not being done in college? I think open locker rooms are one of them.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I talk to my friends that cover the Bengals, on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Mondays, Wednesdays, whatever. You just get to walk in the locker room and just be like, hey, what's up? Put a microphone in front of their face. Like,
I mean, not even that. After the game. You don't get three people at the podium. You get, here's the coach, and then, here's Joe Burrow, and then you get to go into the locker room and talk to whoever you want to talk to. So, it's interesting.
Do you think the team is going to train up the players, though, to be able to speak to the media?
They fucking better.
I mean, even freshmen.
UC does.
Or they can still put stipulations in of, like, we'll let you talk to whoever you want, but they have to be a senior or a junior. Like,
they have to be a starter.
I don't think they're going to give you. At least I wouldn't. I wouldn't give you free reign to just go
unfettered access, right?
Talk to whoever you want.
Yeah.
Like,
it's college
different
coaches would freak out
when it's the NFL and it's their job and they're professionals and Like, I wouldn't expect an 18-year-old to really know what to say, not to say. Like, and we
some
know
of that's
this.
on the media. Some of that's on the media, though. You have to put some of the onus on the media to not talk to an 18-year-old who.
Well, look at if we
Thanks,
want
baby.
over the last several years, there were plenty of guys that we wanted to talk to that because we knew they would give us good quotes. But the coaches and the SIDs also knew that they would give us good quotes, and they said absolutely not.
I don't know how you regulate that if the goal of the conference is to give you free access to the locker room.
Yeah, that'll be one of those things that's real interesting. Like the reason John Cunningham wasn't at the golf the selection show today, the ADs are in meetings at the Big 12.
Dallas or whatever, wherever
they're in Dallas. And, these are one of the things that those ADs are going to have.
Hernias.
No, they're going to have, like, marching orders from their coaches that they know where the coaches are going to stand on that as it becomes more of a thing. Maybe not today, but certainly by Monday of next week when they come back to campus with this out there that they want to open locker rooms, I would guess it's for everything.
Yeah.
So,
if you're going to, like, the Big 12 is I'm not going to call it a basketball conference, but, like, if you're going to
basketball
have this,
is a very important thing.
If you're going to have this for football, you're certainly going to do it for Kansas basketball and Baylor basketball and,
And this is what's done in the NCAA tournament. Like there's like a 10-minute grace period after the game, and then the locker room opens.
There's a 10-minute grace period for guys to cry when they realize their career's over, and then we get to come in with our dumb questions about, what are you going to do now, and what are your feelings now that you've lost?
Are you staying?
And you'll never play basketball again, and I always love that. Like when you get the question after the game, like, what are your plans for next year? It's like, dude, I just lost a game. Like, you really think I want to talk about that right now?
Yeah. Are you going to ever play basketball again? Is your career over? It's sad for my teammates, man. Just wanted to. I thought we had a chance. Like, that's why people got so mad at me, Dave, after the game that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
I just went home. Like, I didn't go to the post-game stuff.
What the hell were you going to ask?
Right. Everybody, people on social media, you're not a real reporter. Like, you get in there and ask the tough questions about the team falling apart. I'm like, no.
Take us, Mick, will you take us through the play-by-play of how you blew a 22-point lead?
In 12 minutes?
Yeah, like, what are you supposed to say? Like,
but forget Mick. Like, Mick was going to have to sit on the podium and answer those questions, whether I was sitting there or not.
That's right. That's what he's paid to do.
But going in and asking the team that thought they had Final Four aspirations, like,
yeah.
Hey, so tell me how you like what you guys choked. What happened? Come on.
Couldn't make any shots.
Come on. Speaking of basketball.
Well, should we talk draft first?
Go ahead. Yeah. That's your area of expertise. So I'll let you run draft, and then I guess at the end we'll do like 10 minutes of your take on Bengals draft.
I was pretty disappointed that Ivan didn't get drafted, obviously. I don't.
But it's not shocking.
It's not shocking.
It's surprising. It's not shocking.
I am kind of shocked that he did not get drafted.
Okay.
I understand the size thing, but at the same time, like, it's still shocking because I would have thought that some team would have said, he fits this role for us perfectly, and we think all of his limitations aside, he's outstanding at this thing. And that's why guys get drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. On the other hand, you guys talked about it, whether I don't know if it was BBP or Nightcap, but I've talked a lot about thresholds and things of that nature. But even more so, it's just history. Like, go show me in modern football, say just call it the last 10 years, last 20 years, whatever amount of time you want to pick.
Right.
Show me all the uber successful 5'10", 230-pound linebackers.
Are there any?
Sam Mills was good.
Yeah.
London Fletcher was really, really, really good. Sam Mills was really, really, really good too. But I mean, like, you get 7 picks, maybe less, maybe more.
Yeah.
Am I going to use one of those picks on a guy that needs to be a insane outlier to justify me using one of those selections?
Right.
I mean, that was my big hang up with Kalijah Kancey and the Bengals. That no one had been drafted in the last 10 years with a wingspan as short as his, let alone in the first round. So you draft a guy like that, you are basically saying he is a one of one. We don't care that this has never happened before. We have confidence that he will be okay. And like we've talked about, there's 32 teams. Let's just call it half. Half of the teams would never have even considered drafting Ivan, regardless.
Right. That's the point that I made, is like the reason it wasn't shocking to me is just because there's so many teams that took him off their board before the draft started. We're not going to draft him.
Right. And I'll use the Bengals as another example. I wanted the Bengals to take Nolan Smith in the first round because I think he is a better football player with more potential than Myles Murphy. At the same time, the Bengals have shown no history of recent record, whether it was Marvin Lewis or now Zach Taylor, that they have any interest in drafting 6'3", 240-pound edge players.
Right.
So me screaming on Twitter about why they didn't draft Nolan Smith would make no sense because their history and track record told me that they were never going to draft him.
It's never going to happen.
So it's the same thing with Ivan. Like, there are teams, I don't know what the number is, but it's obviously on some level 32 because he wasn't drafted. But there are teams that would just say, we understand how good he was in college, but we will not draft that player because of this and because of the history that shows that player is not successful in the NFL.
Right.
Let me ask you this. For those who think that if he had come back here for another year...
That's an idiotic claim.
There are people who think that if he had come back here and played in the Big 12 and shown what he could do against Big 12...
So he would have been a year older, 5'10", 235-pound linebacker.
The only thing is he potentially could have made more money next year as an NIL guy.
Sure.
Aaron, he was a first-team All-American. He was invited to the Senior Bowl.
I don't think you're.
I'm not making.
Right, Aaron.
I'm not making that argument. I'm not making that argument.
I'm just saying. I'm saying in general, like those things are all true. What else was there for him to do? He was a consensus first-team All-American. He was the number 1 graded defensive player in the country by Pro Football Focus. Like, all of the things
Like
that
on
you
the
could put on your
field,
resume, he has on his resume.
I agree.
On the field, there was very, very little he could have done, if anything, better than what he did last year.
PFF had him very high.
But at the same time, like,
first team All-American.
They didn't have him very high, Aaron. Bantam is the number one graded defensive player in college football.
He's
Just
going
saying,
to
it's pretty high.
he's going to a great situation then. That's the thing that should not get lost in this, is that going to Minnesota, that had a terrible defense last year and has basically wiped the slate clean at linebacker, he has a much better position or much better chance to earn a position than if he would have gotten drafted in the 7th round by X team, maybe other than Minnesota.
Right.
Because I don't know every team's linebacker situation, but I know they signed Andre Carter from Army, who's like an edge outside linebacker who went undrafted. Wilson Huber's going there. Ivan's going. Like, they clearly are looking at linebackers. So get your ass in there, impress, and get signed.
I just wanted the question that hadn't been asked in this space that has been talked about. So
Yeah.
I mean,
that wasn't directed at you. It was directed at the question.
No,
because
it's the same thing with like Jerome Ford coming back. It's like, so he can get more carries as a running back.
Right.
Other
That's
than
what
that,
teams love, more mileage on running backs.
exactly. Yeah, get a year older and carry the ball 300 more times. Then we'll draft you even higher. I think Tyler Scott going where he went was indicative of just the wide receiver class as a whole not being very good, and just the uncertainty of it all. Like the 4 guys going in the 1st round was surprising to me, all right in a row. It just what it did, it wasn't a good enough group for those 4 guys to go in the 1st round to force teams to take guys earlier.
Oh wow!
What?
We'll get to this. We'll get to this in a minute. And
Dennis
it's from Dennis Dodd. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it. I haven't read the article because we're talking, but
I haven't either. But yeah. Yeah, let's go through the guys that did get drafted. The three guys that did get.
Yeah, so Tyler Scott, Bears. I think that's again another really good situation. Obviously, they have Justin Fields. They have a 1st-year general manager. In the trade from 1 to 9, they get DJ Moore from the Panthers. Darnell Mooney is kind of their only other known receiver, but he's in the last year of his contract. So, yes, you go in the 4th round, you're probably disappointed. But would you rather go in the end of the 2nd round to a team that is loaded and likes you, but maybe you're their 4th or 5th guy this year? Or would you rather go to the Bears on a team where the GM just got hired, so he's probably not getting fired soon? In the NFL, that's all relative. And they don't have a wide receiver room where there's a lot of people in your way. And they're putting an offense together because they need to find out if Justin Fields is worth it. So they're going to keep investing in the offense, which should benefit you. So I think that was a good spot for him to go to. Josh Wiley going to the Titans. I kind of feel bad for Josh. I think their offense is a mess. Their wide receiver room is one of the worst I've ever seen.
That has to be good for a tight end, though, right?
It maybe helps him, but they're also going to run the shit out of the ball. So, you still have Derrick Henry. You draft Tajay Spears in the 3rd round from Tulane.
I just think teams that run the ball, tight ends go more hand in hand with that than anything.
Yeah, I think the Bengals
play action and throw to the tight end.
I think the Bengals liked Josh. I think if some things would have happened differently, he might have been their pick in one of those mid rounds. But it is, it'll be interesting there because quarterback Ryan Tannehill is very much likely on his last year with them. You trade up in the 2nd round to draft Will Levis. God knows why. I have a Titans a friend that's a fan, and he has not had a good time this week. I'll be getting his son a Will Levis jersey also for his birthday.
Just to remind him
all
the time.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, this is another topic completely, but I don't know if you put mayonnaise in your coffee, you eat bananas with the peel on, and you have an inner bicep tattoo, you just can't be on my draft board.
Worse than Ivan Pace. Like
Like
worse than 5'10", 230 pounds.
Those are serial
You're
killer
out.
tendencies. Like, come on. No chance. But anyway.
There's a reason Penn State was like,
And you also lost out to Sean Clifford
We're going with
twice.
Sean Clifford. Yeah,
Twice.
we're going with Sean Clifford.
Which then the Packers draft Sean Clifford. Makes sense of that. But anyway. But no, I mean, I would have loved to have heard the Fickle, Vrabel, Josh Wiley conversations. I think Josh's personality will play well in Nashville.
He could be like their like a branch of the Fickle Vrabel tree.
Yeah. I think he will enjoy his time in the Music City.
Fair.
So, but no, I mean, I was a little surprised. We talked about Arquan. Not really surprised, but I thought he had a chance to sneak into the 7th round. I think it's cool that he's going to Seattle with Kobe. So hopefully he has a chance to stick there. Just a lot of dudes getting opportunities, which is what you want. I mean, this draft class wasn't great. So if these guys have chances, like just because you didn't get drafted, a lot of guys are making rosters. Practice squad money is damn good money. Like it's a bigger
$20,000 a week.
Well, yeah, $20,000 for 17 weeks.
Yeah.
That ain't bad.
That's a lot of $20,000.
I mean, you go up for one game. There's a awesome game check. Like,
yeah,
the practice squads are bigger now. Like, it's not. These guys are going to get their shot. So it'll be fun to watch them in preseason and see how all that
Trey
goes.
going before Tyler.
Stunned. Don't even care that it was the Raiders. Like, that's stunning.
Yeah.
But I heard on the call. I don't know if people saw my tweet. When they called him, they put the tweet out where they make the call and everything. They highlighted his work as a gunner. It's like, hey, we could have told you that. It's the Gunner podcast.
That's what we do here. Nobody talks more about gunners than this network.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crowded wide receiver room there, so I'm sure his returnability will help him.
Well, that's what the coach said in the presser after they selected him was what he hit a couple home runs in the return game.
Yeah. You got Devontae Adams, you got Hunter Renfrow. They signed Jacoby Myers from the Patriots. So he's probably in that game day active 4th, 5th wide receiver thing, but active because of kicking punt return and gunning on special teams. So we'll see how that goes for him. But no, I mean, it's 3 more, several guys signed. So it will be interesting with a couple guys on this year's team how they do. Deshaun and Dante in particularly. Yeah. Could be a couple more high draft picks.
Sure. Let's get to this Dennis Dodd thing. So essentially, as we just talked about a little bit ago, there are these AD meetings happening, and Dennis Dodd said the situation developed at the Fiesta Summit spring meetings this week when Big 12 officials were told by ESPN executives its league was one of 3 conferences the network would be airing in the future. ESPN currently has Power 5 agreements with the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC. It's the first time publicly ESPN said we're not doing anything with the Pac-12. A Big 12 administrator aware of the exchange told CBS Sports. While ESPN will not be contending for top-tier Pac-12 games, it may be interested in a smaller package, secondary rights for games specifically.
They could also
in the late night window.
They can also sub-license games.
Right. Sources close to the talks emphasize that they are taking a never say never approach when it comes to potential partners as negotiations continue. You're out. We don't believe you. We're not offering you a deal. That's like your opinion, man.
That's like your opinion, man.
That's just like your opinion, man. I mean, yes, this is what we've been talking about for months. That this is what's going to happen.
Essentially, I did read the whole article. USA Network is I guess on
the
now
last hope.
Now
The
on the
last
table.
hope. Yeah.
And tier 1 is out for ESPN, but tier 2 could still be potentially something that ESPN picks up. With the Big Ten leaving ESPN and going to Fox, the Big 12 filled in the gaps for the Big Ten.
Correct. That's why it was so important that the Big 12 jumped
right,
Pac-12 in line.
I think that's everything. We're Brett Yormark.
Eric, save it. We're gonna nightcap this.
All right,
save it.
All right,
save it. Yeah, like no shit, huh, Dave? Like, isn't this what we've been talking about the whole time?
Yeah. I've kind of like gone. I don't really know what's going on. Like the draft, I was totally consumed in that for the weekend, and I had kind of lost interest in this whole thing because it's just like a never end. It's like literally the never ending story.
Yeah.
Like I'm to the point now where I'll have a reaction when if they ever sign a contract. But we have talked about several episodes, I mean, at least a month, maybe more ago, just about fatigue. Like, at what point as a network, whether you're ESPN or Fox or anyone else, you just like, your shit just, it doesn't move the needle enough. Like sure,
nobody cares.
If they want to sell one 10:30 Eastern game to ESPN a week for pennies on the dollar, ESPN will gladly buy it and air it. But the Pac-12 doesn't want to do that. So ESPN's like, well, whatever, man. Like, there's rumors they're gonna try to get WWE. Obviously they're going to have some level of interest in a re-upping with the NBA.
WWE and UFC are one company. They've merged. They're one
right,
company.
but
they already have UFC.
Right, but I mean, and now actually showing WWE as well.
They're different wings of the same parent company.
They have to renegotiate to get the WWE portion, but they already have UFC, so they have to. That contract's coming up. NBA contract's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like, do I really need to spend my money on this?
No. It's just, and if they're buying the 10:30 game, that's pennies on the dollar.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, we'll take it if you'll sell it to us for this.
Right.
But the Pac-12's clearly not to a point yet where they're going to do that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Basketball real quick before we get out of here. Seamus Lukosius has been added to the roster so far. The transfer portal haul is at 3, Dave. How do you feel about Jamil Reynolds, CJ Frederick, Seamus Lukosius as the 3 additions to the roster to fill the 3 spots that are currently open?
I feel pretty good. There are some lingering questions defensively, but
yes.
But I feel like, again, it's very hard to, in my opinion, could be wrong. I think it's very hard unless you're doing like one of these big roster turnovers to really go like, we need this, and this, and we have the opportunity to hit it all. Like, if you told me, if I got to choose between being better on defense or adding multiple legit perimeter shooters, I would take the shooters every day and twice on Sunday.
Well, and especially on a roster that lost their 3 best. Like, it was one of the better shooting teams in program history.
It wouldn't even matter what the roster was. Like, I'm always going to take shooting.
Yeah.
We've seen how this works. Yeah. We lived it for how many damn years with 2 different coaches. So it's not a Hugs thing. It's not a Mick thing. We lived it.
Yeah.
Like, Give me the shooting. We'll figure out the defensive part.
Yeah. Any thoughts individually on Seamus? I know you love. We've talked about it before. He has drawn comparisons to Jaime Jaquez, and that is your favorite player in the history of college basketball.
That's not good. I don't know if we'll go that far. I enjoy watching him play basketball.
He's top 5 for you, for sure.
Non-Bearcats?
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. But yeah, I mean, he seems, I think you brought up a good point, and you're talking about raising the floor. And I think that's where this team can grow the most and needs to grow the most. Is even last year, they're good, could be really good, but they had much too big of a variance between their good and their bad.
When it went wrong, right? When it went wrong.
When it was bad, it was real freaking bad.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be a tighter spread between our really good and our bad.
Right.
And I think some of these guys can help raise that floor a bit. And, you need to figure out ways to win games against, and that's been the bugaboo so far, has been teams that we feel are equal to or better talent. They haven't gotten the win. So you got to figure out how to raise the floor to where you're beating the equal to teams, even if you aren't playing your best.
Right. For sure.
But we'll see if Tom from The Office, or Tom from Parks and Rec. I'm sorry, Tom from Parks and Rec. If he maybe joins the squad at some point.
We'll have plenty more here in the next couple of days on what's going on. I do think Wes was on the road today. I posted the name. I think that he went to sea in the 2024 recruiting thread with a common tie with someone close to this program and the BBP as an assistant coach at his high school. So go check that out. There are 5-star reasons to go take a look at the 2024 recruiting thread. And then there's another potentially high 4-star, 5-star that I'm trying to confirm. I think that an assistant went and met with today as well. So staff's on the road. We'll have a lot more info on all of that as things develop here over the next couple of weeks. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up. I got to go talk to my daughter for a few minutes before she goes and pretends to sleep and watches Netflix for a while. And Aaron and I will get a nightcap rolling. You got your sneak preview of our new sponsor. I'm excited to have them on board as we go forward. And I guess you're probably going to see them on the nightcap probably tonight as well. So we might talk about that too.
Yeah, you got to bring that closer up to the screen. Show everybody what it's all about.
Yeah, we'll get there. All right, that's going to wrap it up. This is the BCJ podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.